Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Continuing Education, SOCA. Certificate in Apparel Merchandising, CAPMER. BHC 006 Fashion, Textiles, Product Development and Merchandising. Block 1 Introduction of Fashion and Consumer Behavior. Unit 2 Understanding Silhouettes. 2.0 Objectives. In the previous unit, we have learnt about the components of design, various elements and principles, but have you ever wondered what's the first thing you consider when putting together an outfit? While color, texture and other components are all extremely important in piecing together an outfit, there is one variable which most of us ignore: silhouette. So in this unit, let us learn about the different types of silhouettes and how we can use it to our sartorial advantage. After studying this unit, you will be able to identify basic silhouettes of garments, understand the various ways of shaping garments for human body, and choose the right silhouette according to the shape of the body. 2.1 Introduction. In the last unit we have understood the various elements and principles of design that can be used aesthetically to produce a beautiful garment. One of those elements is the shape or outline of the garment, i.e. the silhouette. Shape, silhouette and style are the foundations of any apparel design and guide the design development process. It is the most dominant visual element and forms the first impression of the garment. Flat two-dimensional fabrics are shaped and transformed into garments that are three-dimensional and fit human bodies. It is very important that the silhouette complements the body type on which it is worn. 2.2 Silhouette and Style. Silhouette, as we have understood, is what defines the outline of any garment. It is the most important visual element of a garment, though it dictates many other styling elements that make up the design, but fashion cycles normally focus on a specific silhouette. Silhouette is dependent on the position and also the direction of the lines in the garment. These decide the proportions of the length and width. Each silhouette has certain highlighted features which could be specific parts of the garment such as sleeves, shoulders, waistline, etc. Design details in the form of collars and sleeves also add to the look of the silhouette. Many periods in women's fashion even have a distinct silhouette that we automatically associate with the clothing of that decade or era. The style of a garment results from its silhouette as well as other distinguishing and characteristic features. Different styles can be created by adding different details. As long as the key identifying characteristics remain the same, the style remains same. Style names tend to change and evolve as the fashions change. Both silhouette and style have a strong relationship to the aesthetic performance of the garment. 2.3 Classification of silhouettes. Basic silhouettes that have seen the rise, peak and fall over centuries are they bell shape or bouffant, bustle or back fullness, hourglass, tubular, wedge, A-line or trapeze and princess line. Fig. 2.1 outlines the shape of the dresses that highlight these silhouettes. Within these 7 silhouettes there have been endless variations in length, waistline positions, fullness and proportions. 3 have been more prevalent of these 7 silhouettes and have been popular during various times. These are tubular, bell and bustle. Look at the screen. Fig. 2.1 Basic silhouettes prevalent over the years. There are other ways of classifying silhouettes too. Let us discuss them in a little more detail. Natural body silhouette, slim line silhouette, wedge silhouette, hourglass silhouette, moderate silhouette, extreme silhouette. Natural body silhouette. It generally follows the curves of the body very closely and is appropriate for active sportswear, swimsuits, bodysuits etc. Knit fabrics usually combined with lycra are used, and these stretch fabrics make this silhouette comfortable and an ideal choice for sporting activities. Fig. 2.2a. Slim line silhouette. It fits very close to the body and is generally seen in fitted suits, business suits, denim jeans, slim line pants and skirts etc. Slim line dress silhouettes are very versatile and are seen in either formal or casual dresses. Fig. 2.2b. Wedge silhouette. It is created by adding width at the shoulders and tapering at the hips. Shoulder pads and other style devices such as raglan sleeves create the wedge shape. Fig. 2.2c. Hourglass silhouette. It gets its name from the hourglass shape, which is fuller at top with small waist and wide hips. Waistline is the focal point of this silhouette. Full flared skirts worn with tops that have full sleeves and a fitted waist create the hourglass silhouette. It is also popular for wedding dresses. This silhouette looks best on a person with a narrow waistline, Fig. 2.3a. Moderate silhouette. It is normally characterized by soft flowing fabrics with details such as ruffles, gathers, and is suitable for party wear. The garments have more ease, thus are more comfortable to wear. Extreme silhouette. It is particularly appropriate for outer garments such as coats and jackets. They are voluminous enough to cover the suits and dresses over which they are worn. This silhouette tends to add to the width of particular body areas. 2.4 Figure types. Before deciding the silhouette of the clothes, it is very important to understand the shape of the figure on which it has to be worn, since the garment silhouette should be proportionate to the body or figure type. When we look at the overall body contour, there are many typical patterns of weight distribution. These are known as body or figure types. The identification of these figure types is according to specific areas on the body where weight tends to accumulate. In reality, not everybody conforms to one type in particular, and they may be a combination of figure types. Figures vary from the ideal or average in the following 6 ways, which are interrelated. 1. Height. 2. Bone structure. 3. Weight. 4. Proportional body areas. 5. Contour. 6. Posture. Ideal figure type. This is a well-balanced figure and no areas are exaggerated. The width measurements are the same across the shoulders and hip, with a medium bust and a small waist. Bust and hip circumference are same or similar, and the waist is about 10 inches smaller. Triangular figure type. This kind of figure is narrower above the waist but broader and larger below the waist. The weight is concentrated in the hips, buttocks and thighs. It looks a little unbalanced as we look from top to bottom, with more weight concentrated below the waist. Fig. 2.4. Inverted triangular figure type. This is the reverse of the triangular figure type. It appears larger and wider above the waist and smaller below it. The weight is concentrated in the shoulders, upper back and bust, and looks unbalanced when we look from top to bottom. Shoulders are much wider than the hip area. Fig. 2.4. Rectangular figure type. This type of figure looks like a rectangle where the shoulder, waist and hip measurements are almost the same, though the figure looks balanced from top to bottom, but the waist is not clearly demarcated and appears wide in proportion to the hips. The weight tends to be evenly distributed over the body and not concentrated in certain areas. Fig. 2.4. Hourglass figure type. This figure appears larger and rounded in the bust and hip area with a very small waist. The hourglass figure looks well balanced from top to bottom but is not considered ideal because smaller waist tends to make the bust and hip look proportionately larger. Weight gain is generally distributed evenly above and below the waist. Fig. 2.4. Diamond figure type. It is not very commonly seen in people. It is characterized by narrow shoulders and hips and a wide waist. Basically, the weight is concentrated in the midriff, waist and abdomen. Therefore, the body seems tapering at shoulders and hips and expanded at the waist, creating a diamond-like shape. Fig. 2.4. Tubular figure type. It is similar to the rectangular figure type discussed above, but it is thinner as the weight is considerably below the ideal weight. This type of figure looks straight with narrow shoulders and hips, small bust, waist, buttocks and thin arms and legs. There is very little flesh distribution over the body. Oval or rounded figure type. As the name suggests, this figure appears full rounded all over. Unlike tubular, the weight is above the ideal range. All the parts starting from the upper arms and shoulders, waist and midriff and hips and upper legs are large and rounding. Fig. 2.4 General figure types. Look at the screen. 2.5 Clothing style selection for various figure types. When we know our general figure type, we can select our clothing more easily. People of one gender with same figure type regardless of their height and size are most easily flattered by same set of clothing styles that balance their figures. Recognizing our figure type will also help to understand how our body relates to the average or ideal proportions and select clothing styles that flatter the figure. Triangular figure type. A triangular figure type with larger lower body as compared to the upper can be camouflaged with the use of flared garment style. We aim to increase the width or fullness in the upper part of the body above the waist and shoulders, sleeves or bodice to balance the body. Garments with style features such as extended shoulders, shoulder pads, fuller sleeves, wide necklines, open collars, and tops that blouse at the waist help to fill out the upper torso. A lean, flared and straight hanging dirndl or pleated skirt flow easily over the lower torso. Inverted triangular figure type. This type of figure can be balanced using wedge-shaped garment styles to accommodate the larger upper body. Flattering styles for this kind of figure will be soft fullness below the waist in the form of small gathers, flare or pleats to balance the body width. Tops should be loose-fitting to cover the larger upper torso. Rectangular figure type. Clothing style for this figure should be loose or partially fitted free-flowing garments. Layered outfits are best for this kind of a figure. Jackets, waist, coats, vests left open in the front create a slimming vertical line. Hourglass figure type. Hourglass-shaped garments with a shoulder pad help balance the figure. Have a loose fit at the bust and the hip area and fill out middle part just slightly so that the waist does not look very small. A slightly bodice may help. To achieve this, diamond figure type. Garment styles suggested for a triangular or rectangular garment style that feature added fullness below the waist help balance out the figure. Clothing styles that feature width above and below the waist help create the illusion of wider shoulder and hips. Tubular figure type. Clothing with slightly loose fitting lines will counter the narrowness of a thin figure. Styles that have a moderate fullness will help to fill out the figure and create an illusion of soft curves on the body. A medium weight or moderately heavy weight fabric also helps to balance a thin figure. Oval or rounded figure type. An increased amount of ease, design and fitting is necessary in all clothing styles to balance this type of figure. Clothing styles that lead attention outwards at the shoulder also serve to counterbalance the rounded figure. 2.6 Garment shapes. Different shapes given to garments determine the fit and decide the silhouette and style. It depends on the grain of the fabric used, shaping devices employed, and supporting fabrics used to give shape to the garment. Role of fabric grain. An important consideration in evaluating garment quality is the grain of the fabric as it affects the hang, appearance and fit of the garment. Grain is the orientation of the yarns that make up the fabric. All fabrics that are composed of yarns have a grain. Two sets of yarns, warp and weft, interlaced at right angles to one another make up a woven fabric. The selvage lies parallel to the direction of lengthwise yarns in a woven fabric. In case of knits, only one set of yarns is there which is continuous in the fabric. Therefore, knits do not have a grain, but their direction is significant while constructing garments. Fabric grain affects the aesthetic and functional quality of the finished garment. It is important to consider grain at the time of cutting because if cut incorrectly, trueness of grain cannot be restored in the garment. When constructed on the mill or knitting machine, all fabrics are oriented as per the grain, but during the finishing processes of dyeing, printing and/or packaging, etc., the fabric may become off-grain. If off-grain fabrics are cut and sewn, they will stretch in places they should not, may have sagging hems, and will be uncomfortable to wear. If a garment is constructed with respect to grain, it will have the advantage of stretch or lack of it in the required directions. Lengthwise grain. The lengthwise grain or warp runs parallel to the selvage. Fig. 2.5. These are yarns that are held tight in the loom at the time of weaving. Therefore, they are strong enough to withstand the tension of the weaving process. They are stable and do not stretch or shrink, hang straight, and drape better. Generally, designers plan garments with lengthwise grain perpendicular to the floor when the garment is worn. In few cases, pieces are cut on the crosswise grain intentionally so that lengthwise grain is around the body towards length, for example, for waistbands, collars, cuffs, etc. Crosswise grain. The crosswise grain, fill or weft of the fabric consists of yarns woven over and under the lengthwise yarns, perpendicularly to each other. Fig. 2.5. This grain has a slight stretch and hence is kept around the body. In a garment, crosswise grain should run perpendicular to the length. It provides comfort to the wearer. Garment bias and true bias, they are the directions of the fabric rather than the grain. Any direction that is not crosswise or lengthwise grain is referred to as garment bias. True bias is the direction at an angle of 4/5 to the lengthwise and crosswise grains of the woven fabric. True bias is the part of a woven fabric with maximum stretch and can drape and roll well and hang close to the human body. This stretch makes it most suitable for finishing of curved and straight edges. They have to be handled carefully as they tend to stretch out of shape easily. Shaping devices. The way the garment fits the contours of the body can be controlled by different shaping devices. Shaping devices such as darts and various dart equivalents are used to control the way a garment fits. The type of shaping device used, its location and its amount decides the overall look and fit of the garment. A basic fitted garment is derived from a basic sloper or basic block pattern. Manufacturers possess a basic sloper for each type of garment like jackets, skirts, pants, etc. The designer introduces changes in this basic sloper and produces style variations by bringing changes in the type of shaping devices, its location and the amount. Various shaping devices have been explained below. Darts. These are triangular folds stitched to shape a flat fabric according to specific curves of the body. They help in converting a two-dimensional fabric to a three-dimensional garment. They add a high labor cost to the garment but do not require much fabric as compared to other shaping methods. They are stitched in a way that the triangular fold comes on the inside of the garment and is visible on the outer side only in the form of a line according to the indicated design. Darts can also be double-pointed called fish darts. These resemble two individual darts joined at their wide end to form one continuous dart. They are usually used vertically at the waist of dresses, jackets, etc., as they release fullness at both their ends, at the bust and hip levels. Size of a dart depends on the physique. If the curves of the body are small, narrow darts will be successful, and if curves of the body are large, wide darts will be necessary. Use of darts can change the look of a garment to a greater extent. Relocating. Darts does not change the fit of the garment, only the shape and silhouette change. The basic necessity in changing the location of a dart is that it should start from a seam and point towards the highest point in consideration. Fig. 2.6 shows various locations to which a dart can be shifted. Look at the screen. Fig. 2.6 different locations of a dart. Dart equivalents. Dart equivalents are substitutes for darts that help in shaping a garment. They include seams, e.g. princess seam, released darts, gathers, shirring, smocking, pleats, tucks, etc. Darts or dart equivalents are required wherever the fabric fits a body curve like at the bust, abdomen, hips, elbows, etc. The selection of darts or dart equivalent depends on the style of the garment. For example, in case of loose garments, gathers are most appropriate to be used. Shaped seams, they are common dart equivalents in case of close-fitting garments. They perform the same function as darts by shaping fabric panels where they are joined together. Princess seam is a common example used to integrate two darts positioned at two different locations, example waist and shoulder. Fig. 2.7. Fig. 2.7 Princess seam. Yokes. These are horizontal divisions within a garment which also act as dart shape has been incorporated into them. Some examples of yokes in pants and skirts are given in Fig. 2.8. Fig. 2.8 Yokes in pants and skirts. Gauze. These are vertical divisions within a garment, usually like tapering panels joined together by seams to add shape to a garment. They look good and also incorporate dart shape into seams. When we refer to a skirt as two-gauge, it means that it has two panels, and similarly a four-gauge skirt has four panels. Labor costs increase as we increase the number of gauze. Dart tucks. Dart tuck is a partially stitched dart. Fullness. Garments may fit the fabric by adding enough fullness in the fabric. It can be achieved by the use of released darts or addition of extra fullness for style, like gathers, shirring, smocking, elastic, or drawstrings. Released darts are achieved by not stitching darts, which result in a straight silhouette rather than a fitted garment. Style fullness is added to a garment so that the additional fabric covers the body curves. It also makes the garment fit a wider range of sizes than other shaping methods. The extra fabric can be eased out, gathered, elasticized, pulled up by a drawstring, plural, or left as such, uncontrolled. Gathers are made by drawing together series of small folds of fabric. They provide a soft feminine look and can take the place of darts in fitting the garment. Shirring is basically parallel rows of gathers made in the garment. It may be done in the entire garment or only in some specific portions. Smocking uses decorative stitch to hold the fabric in even accord on pleats. Though mainly decorative, it can serve as a dart substitute. Supporting the shape. The shape of a garment is dependent on the supporting fabrics including interfacing, lining, underlining and interlining and supporting devices. The presence of supporting fabrics in a garment is usually a sign of quality. Incorrectly applied or incorrectly selected supporting fabrics lead to collars and lapels with bubbles, waistbands that roll, pockets that bag, etc., but well selected and applied do wonders for the look and appeal of a garment. However, the addition of supporting fabrics to a garment increases production costs in terms of materials as well as labor costs. Supporting fabrics. These fabrics are used in garments made from woven fabrics and are not visible from the outside of the garment. They can be added for durability and warmth. Without these fabrics, in some cases the garment appears limp and does not maintain its shape. The outer fabric is also called the main or the shell fabric. There are 4 types of supporting fabrics: interfacing, lining, interlining and underlining. Each one of these has been discussed below. Separately, interfacing, it is used in almost all garments as it lends body, shape and is used to reinforce certain limited areas. Collars, cuffs, pockets, shoulders, lapels and other small design details are usually interfaced. Interfacing is usually hidden between the garment and its facing and therefore called interfacing. Lining. A lining is a replica of a garment, usually lighter in weight than the garment and sewn on the wrong side of the garment, Fig. 2.10. They are typically made of solid colors to coordinate with the garment fabric, but patterned and contrasting colored linings are also used. There are many reasons why lining can be used. Covers the seam allowances, making the inside of the garment look attractive when the garment is taken off. Eliminates the need for seam finishing by hiding the seam allowances. Makes the slipping on and off the garment easier. Extends the life of the garment. Improves the appearance of the garment, making it more smooth. In case of sheer fabrics, it provides opacity. In general, presence of a lining improves the quality of a garment. But since the requirement of fabric doubles in case of a lined garment and labor cost increases, the overall cost of the garment increases. Some manufacturers, therefore, use partial linings only in areas that are sheer or need reinforcement. It also feels more comfortable as compared to a fully lined garment, especially in summers. Detachable linings can also be used, which can be buttoned or zipped in the garment. They make the garment more suited to all weathers but increase the cost. Interlining. An interlining is applied for additional warmth. They are used in cold weather clothing such as coats and jackets. Any material inserted for warmth between the garment body fabric and lining constitutes an interlining. Interlining materials trap air and provide insulation from the cold. They are not visible in the garment until the lining is removed. They increase labor and material costs. Underlining. It refers to lining each major piece of the garment individually. The garment fabric and the underlining are handled together as one ply. During construction, it is basically used on fabric that is sheer or delicate. Hence, underlining provides opaqueness as well as strength. It prevents the garment from stretching at seams and other stress points, example silk blouse. With underlining, we should remember that an underlined garment has all the Seam allowances exposed as compared to a lined garment. 2.7 Summary. Silhouette is the outline of the whole garment. It is the most dominant visual element and forms the first impression of the garment. Basic silhouettes that have been popular are the bell shape or bouffant, bustle or back fullness, hourglass, tubular, wedge, A-line or trapeze and princess line. Another way of classifying silhouettes is into natural body silhouette, slimline silhouette, wedge silhouette, hourglass silhouette, moderate silhouette and extreme silhouette. Figure types are identified according to specific areas on the body where weight tends to accumulate. They are classified into ideal figure type, triangular figure type, inverted triangular figure type, rectangular figure type, hourglass figure type, diamond figure type, tubular figure type and oval or rounded figure type. Shapes given to garments depend on the grain of the fabric used, shaping devices employed, and supporting fabrics used. There are three grains commonly found in fabrics: lengthwise grain, crosswise grain, and bias, true bias. Shaping devices used include darts and dart equivalents that help to shape up a garment. The shape of a garment is dependent on the supporting fabrics including interfacing, lining, underlining and interlining, and supporting devices. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next video with the next chapter.